Night of the living mall goth. Imagine, if you will, you're walking down a quiet, urban street. It's late as 3 p.m. It's a wealthy neighborhood, upper middle class, at worst. And yet, something smells of shit. You look around. There's some trash on the floor here and there. But no shit. And that's when you see it. A woman on her phone. Or is it a woman? She's large, androgynous. She has long, fake black hair, blue at the tips. She wears black eyeliner and ruby red lipstick. And she says on the phone, I just can't believe he tried to bring politics into a vampire game. That is a mall goth, and these people, for they are people, they're not creatures, they're not monsters, they're not horrendous beasts undeserving of our sympathy. They are sadly often young men or women who grew up without fathers and or mothers, or who grew up with overly involved fathers and or mothers. These people, mall goths, can be found in almost every single online World of Darkness game. They are everywhere in that space. They fill it. It's like an invasion, an infestation. It blows my mind that I can go play 5e with damn 19-year-olds and have them be more thick-skinned and more willing to do interesting stuff in a game, more edgy, not in how they look, but in how maybe they play, than in 5e Dungeons and motherfucking Dragons than I can in World of Darkness, a setting about everything being horrible. That's what World of Darkness is. It's the real world, but there are fantasy creatures and everything sucks ass. Everything just sucks. You know, politicians are more corrupt. Religious fundamentalists are more fundamental. Atheists are more obnoxious. The food is shittier. It's just dark and gritty and bloody and grimy and sexy. And that last word is all the mall goths in that community care about. All they care about is their goth, sexy, hardcore, take no shit, super progressive vampire bitch, yo. And I'll just give specifics, right? Because I can go into hyperbolic nonsense all I want. I have gotten into these games, right? Because I like World of Darkness. I know I seem like I'm just a Within the Ring of Fire guy. I love Within the Ring of Fire, but I also love World of Darkness. And you can go and find these groups. And one thing you will often run into when you join a game is a document will be brought up listing lines and veils. Now, what does that mean? What are lines and veils? Well, those are things in the game where you will specify as a player what your lines are, which are things that you don't want in the game. This can't happen in the game. And then you have your veils, which are things you don't want directly described. Now, I can kind of get this in the basic principle of things. I, as a GM, generally will not give detailed descriptions of sex scenes. It's just not for me. It doesn't entertain me. I don't think it adds anything. I'm not out here trying to make porn. If I have to describe something like that, I'll just say that it is happening and that you can see it. I'm not going to actually go into detail on that. If that's not for you, I get it. Maybe I'm not accusing you of being gross or disgusting. It's just not for me. The same way I'm not going to describe in epic, gritty detail like brutal child murder. That's more because of some of the people I play with just aren't down with that. They're good people, they're hardcore, they're tough, they're thick-skinned. They just don't want to see that. So I get that, right? And I would even understand far more lines and veils, quote unquote, if we were playing like a game of D&D, right? If we're playing Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, lots of people when they play D&D, they're looking for that PG or PG-13 experience. I understand that. People are looking for different experiences. But you go into a game, World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade game, it is specified in the storyteller, that's the term for the GM, specifies that it is 18 plus, that it's going to be dark and gritty, and you already see there's definitely going to be a bunch of weird sexual shit. Just, lots of sexual eccentricities, because a lot of the people who play World of Darkness are really into that shit. I'm not judging them. It's just the truth. It's just the way they do things. So I don't always love that, but I know what I'm getting into, right? And with World of Darkness people, it's supposed to be fucked up. So, okay, right? I get that, you might see something that's a little NSFW. Okay, then why do I open up this document and see lines and veils and see a fucking shit ton of stuff listed? And it's like bigotry, and someone's made that their line. Murder, I've seen where somebody made murder their line. I've seen a bunch of people make murder their veils. You go down, it's freaking sexism, patriarchy, blood, spiders. I've seen that on the list. And these are the mall goths. They want to live in this world where they are edgy badasses. And I used to think that they're just posers, but it's worse. Like goths, these people want to disgust and offend society. But unlike goths, they want to put up all the walls they can to avoid being offended or disgusted themselves. So they will say, yeah, I'm going to have a character that's got her boobies out. But no bigotry, please. I don't want any of the old vampires from the 1800s to be mean to people of color, okay? I don't want any sexism. I know I don't want any vampire to say anything sexy. I want everyone to acknowledge my supreme girl boss power, okay? And you get that, it's like, what the fuck? You've taken the fun out of the game. No, I'm not saying it's fun to be a bigoted asshole. It's fun to play a dark, fucked up setting where everything is dark and fucked up. That's the fun. The fun is interacting with things that you believe are bad. I get so much shit from fellow religious people, because I'm a religious guy, point out, well, that seems sinful. No, I'm calling it bad. I'm depicting it and acknowledging that it's not something morally right. And that's the joy of it, to really delve into this evil and portray it as evil and then not do that shit yourself. Now, that's if you want to make it a moral thing. I generally don't want to make it a moral thing, but if that's what you want to make it, then I can even defend it with that. If you want to get all high and mighty and argue about who's more moral, who's a better person, we can go there. But it doesn't have to be that. It's just a fucking game. And it's a game about darkness. It's a game about politics, about brutality. It's a game about monsters, and all the vampire books encourage this, especially the 5th edition shit. And everything that's 5th edition is fucking trash. Have you noticed that? And you go on and you look in these books, and it says shit like, just because this is a game about playing monsters, it doesn't give you the right to be a monster in real life. Motherfucker, I know. I went through 3rd grade, okay? I know not to be an asshole. Guess what? If somebody doesn't know not to be an asshole, I'm not playing with them. And there's very few people who don't know. Like, that's not a common thing. Like, there's not a guy like, I'm really gonna fucking, there's a black player at my table. I'm really going to make this a bad experience for him. And then he reads that part and he's like, oh, you know what? I shouldn't. I won't. No! What the fuck? People either are going to be shitty people. Like, if someone's a shitty person, guess what? They're not going to change because the fucking fantasy role-playing game book told them to. So you either play with shitty people or you don't. And no amount of progressive woke BS is going to change that. Just like if you put a game out there that had a right-wing bias, which would never fucking happen, by the way. At least it would never be AAA or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, there have been crazy right-wingers before. If you put that shit out and you have a blurb that says, and remember, just because there are monsters and sinners in this game doesn't give you the right to be a godless heathen, nobody's going to convert from reading that. Nobody's going to be like, the role-playing book told me. Holy shit. Jesus. I believe. Nobody's going to do that. They don't care. They don't care what your book tells them about real-life morality. It's a role-playing game, and they especially don't care in World of Motherfucking Darkness, which is a game about evil. So I have dealt with many, many of these Morgoths, and they have many common characteristics. They engage in things that can be seen as quite degenerate, quite vile by certain groups of people. The sort of things that would get you thrown off a building in Iraq. Not saying anyone should. I'm not saying I believe that shit. But they engage in you know, lots of sexual stuff. They want their character to have lots of trauma. They love their character having trauma. That's like their whole. They're like, my character has, wait for it, religious trauma, and also my character. No, this is gonna blow your mind. This is a little out there. My character has a really bad relationship with her dad. That's the most original shit I've ever fucking heard. Not! Anyway. So I've dealt with lots of them in the games I play. And they're not all terrible people. That's the thing. They have these terrible role-playing habits, but they clearly are capable of being good role players, but they've just wrapped themselves up in their blanket of comfort, and they don't have any fun because of that. They don't have any scenes of just fucking going wild. They don't have any cool shit going on because they've all wrapped themselves up in themselves. And a man wrapped up in himself is a very small package indeed. Oh man, I'm so clever. And it's always World of Darkness. It's always World of Darkness. I have played in games where the idea isn't that it's supposed to be dark, and they explore dark shit that World of Darkness players would break down crying at. I have played in games where we all agree we're not doing a lot of dark shit, and we do stuff not even intending it to be dark, like frickin' bartender being racist to a half-orc, like, get out of here, you fucking glot. And it works because we're all decent human people who are not, at least to the extreme, chronically online. And that's the issue with Morgoths. That's what it comes down to. They're all losers who need to go touch grass and need to go interact with some people who don't agree with them on every fucking subject matter. And that's the only way they're going to mature and be able to deal with real shit. Because here's the thing. If you want a safe, gentle, sweet hobby, then you deliver. Then you don't come in here with stuff that's offensive to groups of people that you don't think about having to offend. All right? You don't come in and say you're going to run an 18 plus dark gothic horror game, except all your personal lines need to be respected. I'm not saying that you can't have that shit. I'm not saying that people can't agree. Like, for example, I'm not going to play with a group of veterans and then say this one vet, let's say I'm making this up. I'm not saying I know a guy like this. Let's say it's a veteran. He loves playing role-playing games and he's fucked up really bad. Let's say he dealt with some real shit and he just can't do fucking fiery explosions. Okay, I won't do that shit in the game with him because I'm his friend and I know him. But this whole bureaucratic sign your lines and fails, no bigotry, no patriarchy. Oh, but okay, you know what? Murder is okay. And I've seen situations where it's not, where people even call that a line in the Vampire the Masquerade game, and it's always on there as an option. People usually don't mark it off, but it's always there. Anyway, Molgoth's vile.